Welcome to Teolumen Insights, where we reveal the hidden forces that shape the way you live and show you how to use them to create real transformation and supercharge your health, mindset, and daily life. Here are your hosts, Emma Greenwood and Nathan Sinclaire.
Welcome back, everyone, to Teolumen Insights. I'm Nathan Sinclaire.
And I'm Emma Greenwood.
And we are diving deep today into the work of Dr. Jerry Tennant.
Oh, this is going to be fascinating.
This guy's a physician who has spent his entire career exploring the intersection of energy and healing and chronic illness.
It's an area that really pushes the boundaries of conventional medicine. It challenges us to think differently about how we approach health and disease.
Yeah, and what I find really compelling about Dr. Tennant is that it all comes from such a personal place. He actually suffered from a debilitating illness himself.
Really?
And was told that he would be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
Oh, wow.
But he wasn't satisfied with that prognosis, and he just started researching and experimenting, and he eventually not only recovered,
That's amazing,
but went on to develop this whole system of healing based on his own experience.
It's incredible how often that personal experience really fuels the passion. He's in his 80s now and still practicing and constantly refining his theories and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
So let's get to the heart of it. What is this system of healing that Dr. Tennant has developed?
Well, his core concept is summed up in this phrase, healing IS voltage. He believes that our cells are essentially tiny batteries and that they need a specific electrical charge to function the way they're supposed to.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, we all know that electricity is essential for life. I mean, our hearts beat because of electrical impulses. Our brains function through electrical signals. But what does it mean for our cells to have voltage? And what happens when that voltage drops?
Well, and that's where it gets really fascinating. Dr. Tennant argues that when our cells don't have enough voltage, that their ability to heal and to regenerate is compromised. They can't produce energy efficiently, they can't detoxify properly, and they become much more susceptible to damage from things like toxins and pathogens.
So it's almost like a car battery that's losing its charge.
Exactly.
Eventually, the car just won't start no matter how much gas you put in it.
Exactly. And Dr. Tennant believes that this cellular voltage depletion is at the root of so many chronic illnesses, from fatigue and pain to autoimmune disorders and even cancer.
So if low voltage is the problem, then the next question, of course, is what's causing it?
Well, Dr. Tennant points to a whole range of factors that can drain our cellular batteries. Some of them are external, like toxins in our environment, or processed foods that we eat, or even certain medications that we take. But others are internal, like chronic stress or emotional trauma, or even dental infections.
Dental infections, that's not something you hear every day as being like a major health concern.
Well, Dr. Tennant believes that dental infections can be a significant source of toxicity in the body.
Okay.
He argues that the bacteria from these infections can enter the bloodstream and travel to other parts of the body, causing inflammation and disrupting cellular function.
So it's not just about having a pretty smile.
Exactly.
It's about maintaining your overall health.
Exactly. And he also has some interesting theories about how scars can impact cellular voltage as well. He believes that scars can actually create blockages in the body's energy circuits, disrupting the flow of electricity and impairing healing.
So those old scars from childhood accidents or surgeries could actually be contributing to health issues years later.
That's what he suggests, and he's developed techniques for addressing these scar blockages using specific frequencies of energy.
Now, we've talked about toxins and infections as sources of voltage depletion. But what about emotional trauma? How does that fit into the picture?
Dr. Tennant believes that unresolved emotional trauma can also create blockages in the body's energy system, leading to physical symptoms. And he draws these connections between specific emotions and different organs, suggesting that suppressing emotions can actually disrupt the flow of energy to those organs.
So, for example, if someone's constantly bottling up their anger, that could actually manifest as liver problems down the line.
That's the idea, and he uses a variety of techniques to help people release those emotional blockages, including things like energy psychology and even working with the biofield, which is the subtle energy field that surrounds the body.
Okay, so it sounds like Dr. Tennant's approach is truly holistic, addressing the physical, emotional, and even energetic aspects of health.
It really is. He's not just looking at symptoms. He's looking at the whole person and trying to identify the root causes of their health challenges.
So let's talk about some of the specific things that Dr. Tennant believes are draining our cellular batteries. He's pretty outspoken about his views on certain medications, particularly statins. What's his concern with statins?
Well, Dr. Tennant argues that statins, which are widely prescribed to lower cholesterol, can actually deplete cellular energy by interfering with the production of CoQ10,
Okay.
which is a vital nutrient that plays a key role in energy production within our cells.
So it's like taking a medication to lower one number, but potentially creating a different problem at the cellular level.
That's his argument, and he's not just raising concerns about statins. He also talks about the dangers of fluoride, which he believes can displace iodine in the body and lead to thyroid dysfunction.
And speaking of thyroid dysfunction, Dr. Tennant has a lot to say about hypothyroidism. He believes that many people are misdiagnosed or undertreated for this condition, which can have a major impact on energy levels and overall health.
And he points out that the standard TSH test that's used to diagnose hypothyroidism can be unreliable, and he advocates for a more comprehensive approach that includes looking at body temperature and other symptoms. He also feels that the standard treatment, which often involves just prescribing T4 thyroid hormone, may not be sufficient for many people.
He believes many individuals need T3 as well for optimal thyroid function.
Right.
So, it's not just about relying on a single test or accepting a diagnosis without really investigating further.
It's about being proactive and taking control of your health.
You really need to be your own health advocate and dig a little deeper.
Exactly. Dr. Tennant believes that knowledge is power, and the more we understand about how our bodies work, the better equipped we are to make informed choices about our health.
Now, we've talked about toxins and infections and emotional trauma and medications that can deplete cellular voltage. But what about things we can do to boost our voltage and support cellular health? What does Dr. Tennant recommend?
Well, he's a big believer in integrative medicine, which combines conventional and alternative approaches. He emphasizes the importance of a nutrient-rich diet, regular exercise, stress management techniques, getting enough sleep, the basics. But he also has some more unique recommendations. He's a strong advocate for things like essential oils, humic and fulvic acid, and even specific frequencies of light and sound to enhance cellular function.
Okay, let's unpack some of those. What's so special about humic and fulvic acid?
Well, Dr. Tennant believes that these substances, which are derived from decomposed plant matter, are incredibly beneficial for cellular health. He sees them as powerful detoxifiers and nutrient carriers. They help to remove waste products from cells and deliver essential nutrients.
So it's like giving your cells a deep cleaning and a nutrient boost all at the same time.
Exactly. What about essential oils? How do those fit into his approach?
Yeah. How do they work?
Well, he believes that essential oils can have a profound impact on cellular health due to their unique frequencies. He suggests that different oils resonate with different organs and systems in the body, and that using specific oils can help balance energy and promote healing.
So it's not just about the aroma, it's about the vibrational energy of the oils interacting with our bodies.
Exactly. And he's developed a whole system for understanding how different essential oils can be used to address specific health concerns. He also uses essential oils to address stealth pathogens.
Stealth pathogens, that's something we touched on earlier, but didn't really dive into. Can you explain what those are and why they're such a concern?
Sure. So stealth pathogens are essentially bacteria that have lost their cell walls, which makes them invisible to traditional testing and even to the immune system.
So our immune system doesn't even recognize them as invaders.
That's right. And Dr. Tennant believes that these stealth pathogens are far more common than we realize, and that they play a significant role in chronic illness, especially Lyme disease.
So how do you even address a problem if you can't detect it?
Well, that's where Dr. Tennant's focus on voltage comes back into play. He argues that by boosting our cellular voltage, we can create an environment where these stealth pathogens can't thrive. He believes that certain essential oils can actually disrupt these organisms at a deeper level.
So it's not just about killing the bad guys, it's about strengthening our defenses and creating an internal environment that's just inhospitable to them. I like that approach.
It's a proactive approach, for sure, and it aligns with his overall philosophy of empowering individuals to take control of their own health. He's providing tools and knowledge that can help people identify and address the root causes of their health challenges, rather than just masking symptoms with medication.
And one of the most intriguing tools he's developed is something called the biomodulator.
Yes.
It's a device that uses specific frequencies of electricity to stimulate healing and restore voltage at the cellular level.
Now, the biomodulator is certainly a departure from conventional medicine, but Dr. Tennant has reported some remarkable results with it. He's even used it to regenerate damaged tissue in some cases.
It sounds like science fiction come to life.
It does, doesn't it? But he's very grounded in science. He draws on the work of Nobel Prize winners like Otto Warburg and even concepts from quantum physics to explain his theories. He believes that the body is an incredibly complex electrical system and that by understanding the principles of bioelectricity, we can unlock tremendous healing potential.
Now, you mentioned that Dr. Tennant has developed a system for measuring the voltage at specific points on the body. Can you tell us more about that?
He's mapped out what he calls bioterminals. These are specific points on the body that correspond to major organs and energy pathways. He believes that by using a simple voltmeter, you can actually measure the voltage at these points and identify areas where there might be blockages or imbalances.
It was like having a diagnostic tool right at your fingertips.
Exactly. And he encourages people to use this information to guide their treatment with the biomodulator or other therapies.
It's truly a DIY approach to health.
That's Dr. Tennant in a nutshell. He's all about making this knowledge accessible and empowering people to become active participants in their own healing journey.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from stealth pathogens to statins, fluoride, and even the biomodulator. We've touched on his views on nutrition, but there's a lot more to unpack there. He's got some strong opinions about the role of fats in our diet, for instance, and the importance of things like stomach acid and bile production. Where do we go from here?
Well, there's so much more to explore, but it's all connected back to this core concept of healing IS voltage. And the beauty of it is that you don't have to be a doctor or a scientist to understand and apply these principles. Dr. Tennant believes that everyone has the innate capacity to heal, and by understanding how our bodies work at the cellular level, we can tap into that power.
I'm ready to tap into that power. What else can you share about Dr. Tennant's approach to nutrition? He seems to have a completely different take on things like fats and cholesterol.
He does, and it's one of the areas where he really challenges conventional wisdom, so let's dive into that next. So Dr. Tennant's view on fat is pretty radical, actually.
Right.
He believes that the low-fat craze that we've all kind of been swept up in for decades has actually been really detrimental to our health.
It definitely goes against the grain of what we've been told for so long.
It does. He argues that our bodies need good fats, like butter and coconut oil and even animal fats, to function properly. He points out that mother's milk, which is, nature's perfect food for infants, is actually very high in cholesterol and saturated fat.
Right, and babies need those nutrients for brain development and all kinds of things.
Exactly. It makes you wonder if we've kind of gotten it all wrong.
It does.
He believes that our cells need cholesterol for hormone production, for maintaining cell membrane integrity, and even for detoxification.
Well, what about all those warnings that we hear about saturated fat clogging our arteries and leading to heart disease?
Well, he challenges that notion head on. He believes that the real culprit in heart disease isn't cholesterol itself, but inflammation in the artery walls.
Okay.
He argues that things like low voltage and toxins and mineral deficiencies can weaken those walls and make them more susceptible to damage.
So the cholesterol plaques are more like a patch trying to repair the damage rather than the cause of it.
That's his theory, and he's got some interesting ideas about what causes that inflammation in the first place.
Like what?
He points to things like fluoride, which he believes damages collagen, which is a key component of artery walls.
So maybe we should be focusing on reducing inflammation rather than simply lowering cholesterol.
That's what he suggests.
But how do we even know if we have inflammation in our arteries?
Well, and that's where it gets tricky because standard cholesterol tests don't really tell the whole story. Dr. Tennant's very critical of the way that heart disease risk is often presented, especially the use of relative risk versus absolute risk in studies.
Can you break that down for us? What's the difference between relative risk and absolute risk?
Sure. So relative risk can make a treatment seem much more effective than it actually is. Imagine a drug that reduces your risk of a heart attack by 50%. That sounds pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
But what if your absolute risk of having a heart attack in the next 10 years was only 2% to begin with?
So the drug would reduce your risk to 1%.
Exact.
Which is still a reduction, but it's not as dramatic as that 50% relative risk figure would suggest.
Right. Dr. Tennant argues that drug companies often use relative risk statistics to make their cholesterol-lowering drugs seem more effective than they actually are. He encourages people to really look at the absolute risk reduction and consider whether the potential benefits outweigh the potential side effects.
It's all about understanding how the numbers are being presented and what they actually mean for your individual risk.
Exactly.
It really highlights the importance of critical thinking when it comes to health information. We can't just blindly accept what we're told, even if it comes from a doctor or a seemingly authoritative source.
Absolutely. And Dr. Tennant encourages people to question, to do their own research, and to become active participants in their own healthcare decisions, now beyond fats and cholesterol. He also emphasizes the importance of stomach acid.
Okay.
He argues that many people have low stomach acid, which can impair digestion and lead to all sorts of problems.
That makes sense. I mean, stomach acid is kind of our first line of defense against pathogens that we ingest.
Yeah.
And I've also heard that low stomach acid can interfere with the absorption of nutrients.
That's right. It can interfere with the absorption of minerals like calcium, magnesium, and iron. And since he believes that mineral imbalances can contribute to low voltage, it all ties back to his core concept.
So it's all connected. What are some signs that someone might have low stomach acid?
Well, there are a few things to look out for. Things like bloating and gas and indigestion, even food sensitivities can be signs of low stomach acid. Some people also experience heartburn, which seems kind of counterintuitive, but can actually be a symptom of low stomach acid as well.
So how do you address low stomach acid?
Well, he suggests several approaches. One is to supplement with digestive enzymes, which can help break down food more effectively. Another is to consume apple cider vinegar before meals, which can help increase stomach acid production.
I've heard that apple cider vinegar is good for a lot of things.
It is. It's a great natural remedy for a variety of digestive issues. He also recommends consuming fermented foods like sauerkraut and kimchi, which contain beneficial bacteria that can help improve digestion and support gut health.
Now, we talked earlier about how Dr. Tennant sees dental infections as a major source of toxicity in the body. How does he recommend addressing that issue?
Well, he emphasizes the importance of finding a biological dentist who takes a more holistic approach to dental care. He believes that many conventional dental practices can actually contribute to health problems by using materials that are toxic to the body.
Like mercury fillings.
Exactly. He advocates for the removal of mercury fillings and the use of biocompatible materials in dental work. He also stresses the importance of addressing root canals, which he believes can harbor chronic infections.
It sounds like he's really looking at the whole picture when it comes to health. He's not just focusing on one organ or system. He's considering how everything is interconnected.
That's the essence of integrative medicine. It's about recognizing that the body is a complex system and that true healing requires addressing all aspects of that system, from the physical to the emotional to the energetic.
Speaking of energy, let's talk more about the biomodulator.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that it uses specific frequencies of electricity to stimulate healing. How does that actually work?
Oh, Dr. Tennant believes that every cell in the body has a specific resonant frequency, and he's discovered that by applying the correct frequency to a cell, you can actually stimulate its healing capacity.
So it's like tuning a musical instrument.
Mm-hmm.
You need to find the right frequency to create harmony.
That's a great analogy. The biomodulator is essentially a device that delivers these healing frequencies to the body. He's identified specific frequencies that can stimulate tissue regeneration, reduce inflammation, and even fight off infections.
And he's had some pretty impressive results with it, right?
He has. There are case studies of people who've experienced significant improvements in chronic pain, nerve damage, even bone healing after using the biomodulator. He's even used it to successfully treat Lyme disease.
That's remarkable. And this all ties back to his idea that the body is an electrical system.
Exactly. He sees the biomodulator as a way to rebalance and harmonize the body's electrical circuits. And what's really fascinating is that he's discovered that the body's electrical system is very closely linked to the acupuncture meridian system.
So there's a connection between ancient Eastern medicine and modern bioelectricity.
It seems so. He believes that the acupuncture meridians are essentially pathways of electrical conductivity in the body, and he's found that stimulating acupuncture points with the biomodulator can actually enhance its effects.
That's incredible. It's like these ancient systems of healing are being validated by modern science.
It really is a beautiful convergence of knowledge, and it speaks to the interconnectedness of all things.
Now, we've talked about how he uses the biomodulator to treat physical ailments, but he also believes that it can be used to address emotional trauma. How does that work?
Well, he's discovered that certain frequencies can actually help release emotional blockages and promote emotional healing. He believes that trauma can literally become trapped in the body's energy field, and that the biomodulator can help to release those trapped energies.
So it's like an energetic detox for the emotions.
That's a great way to put it. And he often combines the biomodulator with other techniques like energy psychology and counseling to address the emotional and psychological aspects of healing.
Now, we've touched on a lot of different aspects of Dr. Tennant's work, from nutrition and digestion to toxins and infections, from emotional trauma to bioelectricity. It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But it's all interconnected.
It is, and it all comes back to this idea that our bodies have an incredible innate capacity to heal, and that by understanding the principles of cellular health and taking a holistic approach, we can unlock that healing potential.
But where do stem cells fit into all of this? I know that he also incorporates stem cell therapy into his practice.
That's right. He views stem cells as another powerful tool for regeneration and healing. He often uses stem cell injections to help repair damaged tissue and stimulate the body's own healing mechanisms.
And from what I understand, stem cells are essentially like blank slate cells that can differentiate into any type of cell in the body.
Right.
So you can use them to repair everything from bones and cartilage to nerves and muscles.
Exactly. He's had great success using stem cells to treat conditions like osteoarthritis, degenerative disc disease, and even neurological disorders.
It's incredible to think that we have this ability to regenerate and repair our bodies at such a fundamental level.
It really is, and his work is a testament to the power of the human body to heal itself when given the right support.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I feel like I'm starting to get a better grasp of his overall approach, but I'm still curious about this concept of the biofield. We mentioned it briefly earlier, but can you tell us more about what it is and why it's important?
Sure. So the biofield is essentially a field of subtle energy that surrounds and permeates the physical body. It's often described as an electromagnetic field, but it may also have components that we don't fully understand yet.
So it's like an invisible aura that extends beyond our physical form. I've heard some people refer to as chi or prana.
Exactly. And while it's not something that we can see with the naked eye, there's growing scientific evidence to suggest that the biofield is real and that it plays a role in health and healing.
That's fascinating. How does Dr. Tennant incorporate the biofield into his practice?
Well, he believes that the biofield can be influenced by a variety of factors, including our thoughts, our emotions, and our environment. And he's developed techniques for assessing and balancing the biofield, using tools like energy healing and biofeedback.
So he's not just working on the physical body, he's working on the energy body as well.
That's right. He believes that true healing involves addressing all levels of our being: physical, emotional, mental, and energetic.
It's a truly holistic approach. What are some of the specific techniques that he uses to work with the biofield?
He uses a variety of modalities, including Reiki and healing touch, and even sound healing. He's also a proponent of techniques like Psych-K, which uses muscle testing to identify and release subconscious beliefs that may be blocking healing.
That sounds pretty out there.
I know.
Muscle testing to access the subconscious mind.
I know it can sound a little strange, but it's actually a well-established technique that's used by many alternative practitioners, and he's found it to be very effective in helping people release emotional blockages and limiting beliefs that are contributing to their health challenges.
So he's not just treating the physical symptoms, he's addressing the underlying emotional and energetic patterns that are contributing to those symptoms.
Exactly. He's taking a truly comprehensive approach to healing.
Now, we've talked about how toxins and infections and emotional trauma can deplete cellular voltage. But what about nutritional deficiencies? How do those play into his theories?
Well, he believes that certain nutrients are absolutely essential for maintaining optimal cellular voltage, for example. He's a big proponent of iodine, which is crucial for thyroid function.
And as we discussed earlier, he believes that many people are deficient in iodine, and that this can contribute to a whole host of health problems.
That's right. He also emphasizes the importance of minerals like magnesium, potassium, and zinc, which are all involved in cellular energy production.
So it's not just about avoiding toxins and pathogens, it's also about making sure that we're getting the nutrients that our cells need to thrive.
Exactly. And he provides guidance on how to address these deficiencies through diet supplementation and even IV therapy.
Now, we've talked a lot about the things that can deplete our cellular voltage, but I'm curious about what we can do to boost our voltage naturally. What are some of his recommendations for enhancing cellular energy?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, he's a big advocate for essential oils. He believes that certain oils like frankincense and sandalwood can actually raise cellular voltage and promote healing. He also recommends using things like red light therapy and grounding, which involves connecting to the Earth's natural energy.
Oh, grounding. That sounds interesting. How does that work?
It's actually very simple. You can ground yourself by walking barefoot on grass or sand or soil. The idea is that the Earth's surface has a negative charge, and by connecting to that charge, we can help to neutralize the positive charge that builds up in our bodies from exposure to electronics and stress and other environmental factors.
So it's like plugging ourselves into the Earth battery to recharge our own batteries.
Exactly. And there's growing scientific evidence to suggest that grounding can have a number of health benefits, including reducing inflammation, improving sleep, and even boosting the immune system.
That's pretty amazing. So his approach is really about taking a holistic approach to health, addressing everything from our diet and lifestyle to our emotional well-being and even our connection to the Earth's energy.
That's right. He believes that true healing involves addressing all aspects of our being and that we have the power to create vibrant health by aligning ourselves with the natural laws of the universe.
It's a powerful message, and it's inspiring to think that we have more control over our health than we might realize. Now we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. But there's one area of his work that we haven't really touched on yet, his views on scalar energy. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure, scalar energy is a fascinating concept. It's a type of energy that's thought to be more fundamental than electromagnetic energy. Some physicists believe that scalar energy is the energy of the vacuum, the zero-point energy that exists everywhere in the universe.
There's like an underlying energy field that permeates all of reality.
That's the idea, and he believes that scalar energy has tremendous healing potential. He's developed devices that he claims can harness scalar energy and use it to promote healing and cellular regeneration.
Wow, that's really pushing the boundaries of science.
Yeah.
How do these devices work?
Well, the details are pretty complex, but essentially they use specific geometries and materials to create a vortex of scalar energy. He believes that this scalar energy can penetrate deep into the body and stimulate healing at the cellular level.
So it's like a supercharged energy healing modality.
You could say that. And while the research on scalar energy is still in its early stages, there are some promising anecdotal reports of its healing effects.
It's definitely an area that warrants further exploration, and it speaks to his willingness to think outside the box and embrace new ideas that have the potential to revolutionize healthcare. Now, we've talked about how he uses a variety of modalities to boost cellular voltage and promote healing, but what about the role of amino acids? I know he also emphasizes the importance of those.
He does. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein, and they play a vital role in virtually every function of the body. He believes that certain amino acids are particularly important for cellular health and energy production.
Which ones are those?
He highlights the importance of branched-chain amino acids, or BCAAs, which are essential for muscle growth and repair. He also emphasizes the role of glutamine, which is critical for gut health and immune function.
So it's not just about getting enough protein, it's about making sure we're getting the right types of amino acids.
That's right. And he offers guidance on how to supplement with amino acids to support specific health goals.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the basics of his healing IS voltage concept to his views on nutrition toxins, infections, emotional trauma, and even advanced therapies like stem cell therapy and scalar energy. It's a lot to digest.
It is.
But it's all interconnected.
It is, and it all comes back to this idea that our bodies have an incredible innate capacity to heal, and that by understanding the principles of cellular health and taking a holistic approach, we can unlock that healing potential.
But what about the practical application of all this information? Where do we even begin to apply these principles to our own lives?
That's a great question, and it's one that we'll explore in more depth in the next part of our deep dive. We'll delve into some specific steps that you can take to incorporate his teachings into your own health journey.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground talking about Dr. Tennant's work, but now I kind of want to bring it back down to earth, like what can our listeners actually do with all of this?
I know that's the key, right? Knowledge without action is, well, it's just interesting trivia, I guess.
Right.
But his work is really about empowerment. He gives us a framework, but the journey is really ours.
So let's break it down. Say someone listening is dealing with something like chronic fatigue. Where would they even start through this lens?
Well, and again, remember, we're not giving medical advice here, but if you were to approach this like Dr. Tennant, you'd start by assuming that low cellular voltage is a part of the problem, and then it's really detective work from there.
I love that detective work. So using his ideas, what are some clues we'd look for?
Well, he would want to know about everything: diet, of course, but also sleep, stress levels, past injuries, dental history, even emotional patterns. Remember, it's all connected in his model.
And this is where those bioterminals come in, right? Can people actually measure their own voltage at home?
He encourages that you need a specific type of voltmeter, but then, you can actually check those points that he's mapped out, and low readings could point to where energy is blocked or depleted in the body.
Okay, but let's be real. Not everyone's going to be running out to buy a voltmeter or, finding a biological dentist right away. So what are some baby steps that people can take, like today?
Oh, there's plenty you can influence right now. Diet is huge EE. Cutting out processed foods, sugar, unhealthy fats, that's step one for almost everyone.
And he's pretty clear on what he does want people eating, right?
He's all about nutrient-dense whole foods. Healthy fats are crucial. Things like avocados, olive oil, nuts, and seeds. And he's a big fan of bone broth for its mineral content.
He also emphasizes hydration, right?
Yeah.
And not just any water will do.
He's adamant about avoiding fluoride and chlorine, so filtered water is essential, and he actually even suggests adding a pinch of sea salt to your water for mineral balance.
Wow, little tweaks that could make a big difference over time now, beyond diet. What else can people easily incorporate?
Getting enough sleep is so vital. He believes that our bodies do most of their repair work while we sleep, so skimping on shut-eye is really sabotaging healing.
And he's also big on stress management, right?
Yep.
And not just in the, take a bubble bath kind of way.
Right, it goes deeper. He encourages people to address the root causes of their stress. Could be unresolved emotional issues, toxic relationships, or even just a job that's sucking the life out of them.
And this is where techniques like the ones you mentioned, like Psyche and energy healing, can help people release those deeper blockages.
Exactly. And even simple practices like meditation or spending time in nature can have a profound impact on stress levels.
He even talks about the importance of sunlight, doesn't he?
He does. He sees sunlight as vital for setting our circadian rhythms and boosting our energy levels. So getting some sunshine every day, even for a short period, can be incredibly beneficial.
It's all about aligning ourselves with those natural rhythms of nature. Now we've talked about diet, sleep, stress management, hydration, sunlight. What about movement? Where does exercise fit into his model?
He believes that movement is essential for maintaining healthy circulation and lymphatic flow, which helps to remove toxins from the body. He recommends finding an activity you enjoy, whether it's walking, dancing, swimming, or something else entirely.
And it doesn't have to be strenuous, right?
Yes.
Even gentle movement can be beneficial.
Exactly. The key is consistency. Finding ways to incorporate movement into your daily routine is more important than, pushing yourself to the limit.
So it's about making sustainable lifestyle changes rather than going for the quick fixes.
That's the essence of his approach. It's about understanding how our bodies work at a fundamental level and then making choices that support our natural healing capacity.
Now, we've touched on a lot of different tools and techniques that people can use to boost their cellular voltage and support their overall health. But I know some listeners might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed by all this information. What would you say to someone who's feeling like, okay, this all sounds great, but where do I even start?
I would say start small. Pick one or two areas that really resonate with you and focus on making gradual changes. Maybe it's incorporating more healthy fats into your diet or making sure you're drinking enough filtered water or finding a few minutes each day to ground yourself.
Small steps that can lead to big changes over time.
Exactly. And remember that healing is a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, but the key is to keep moving forward, to keep learning, and to keep experimenting until you find what works for you.
And to listen to your body.
Absolutely. Your body is your best teacher. Pay attention to the signals it's giving you and adjust your approach accordingly.
So to kind of wrap up this deep dive into the work of Dr. Jerry Tennant, what are some of the key takeaways that we want our listeners to remember?
Well, first and foremost, remember, healing IS voltage. Understanding this concept can empower you to take control of your health and make choices that support your cellular energy.
We also want to emphasize that his approach is holistic. It's not just about addressing physical symptoms, but also looking at the emotional, the mental, and the energetic factors that are contributing to those symptoms.
And finally, we encourage you to be curious to ask questions and to be your own health advocate. His work offers a wealth of information and insights, but it's up to each individual to determine what resonates with them and how to apply these principles to their own lives.
And if you're intrigued by Dr. Tennant's work and want to delve even deeper, we encourage you to check out Teolumen Insights, where we'll continue to explore the frontiers of knowledge and uncover the hidden wonders of our world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
We appreciate you being part of the Teolumen Insights community.
Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep that spark of curiosity alive.